Hello and welcome to another video. In this lesson, we are going to talk about time methods. The window object has two methods that allow us to delay the execution of a block of code or execute it repetitively between an interval of time. So let's start with the set timeout method, which is going to delay the execution of a block of code. So this method is part of the window object and it accepts two arguments. So the first argument is the callback function. This is something that we are going to learn later in the course, but for now, let's just think of this as a function that's going to be executed when this method is finished. And when is this method going to be finished? When this time has passed. So the second argument is going to be a time in milliseconds. So if we want to wait 1 second, we can just put 1,000 here. So 1,000 milliseconds. So after 1 second, what's going to happen is that our callback function is going to be executed. So I know these names, they may sound a bit complicated, but this is actually really simple. So let's go to Visual Studio Code to do our first example. So let's just send one message to the console and then let's send the second message 3 seconds later. So here I have the first message, and then for the second message, I'm just going to delay 3 seconds. So how do we do this? We start with the window dot set timeout. Be careful with the capital T. So what I like to do so I don't get confused on how to write this, first I open and close parentheses and add the semicolon. So this is the syntax of calling any method. So now inside here we need two arguments. So the first argument is going to be the function that's going to be executed at the end. So function, open and close parentheses for the function arguments, if there are any, and open and close curly braces, which is where we're going to place the code inside this function. So we just write it like this so we don't get confused. And then the second argument, comma, then it's going to be the time. So if we want to delay 3 seconds, we have to write 3,000 because this number is in milliseconds. So 3 seconds, it's the same as 3,000 milliseconds. All right. So now let's go inside this function. So as you can see, when you see the set timeout method on the internet, on some example out there, you will see it written like this. But this could be a bit confusing if you're just starting out with this method. So this is why I like to write it like this first, so we can understand that this is the first argument, which is the function. This is the second argument. So then when you get used to it, you know that inside here is just the content of that function. Inside here, I'm just going to send the second message. So now I'm going to send message number 2. Let's save this. Now refreshing the page, we can see message 1, and after 3 seconds, we can see message 2. Now let's do another example. I have a spinner loader, which is hidden here. If we go to the HTML of this page, let's just click the button. We can see that below this button, there is an element with the ID of spinner loader that has a display of none. If I uncheck this box, we can see that it's just an element with some animation. And what we're going to do is just showing this element for a given number of seconds. So this is going to be pretty similar to what we've done here. And what we're going to do is just showing this element for a given number of seconds or milliseconds. And this is going to be pretty similar to what we've just done here. But the difference is that we are going to click this button to fire this function. So this button has the ID of show loader. Let's copy this. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. We can comment all this for now. And now we're going to start selecting that element, which has an ID of show loader, and we are going to create an onClick event for it. So dot onClick, then there will be a function. And now when we click this button, what we want to do is just selecting the spinner loader. So let's go back there to see the ID again. So the ID of this loader is spinner loader. So we are just going to get this element and change its display. So we know we can use the style property, then the name of the property, which is display. At the moment we have it as none, so we are going to change it to block. Let's just go back there to test this out. So if we change from none to block, we can see that we just show the element. So this is what we are going to do using JavaScript. And then after we show this element, we are just going to delay 3 seconds before we hide it. So we are going to start a set timeout method. So window, if you don't want to use the window, you know you can omit the name of the object. I just like using it. So window.setTimeout. So again, open and close parentheses, semicolon, inside here, 2 arguments. First one is the function. Second one is the number of milliseconds. So let's show this loader for, let's say, 2 seconds. And now after the 2 seconds have passed, what we need to do is just hiding it again. So then we are going to change the display to none again. Let's save this, refresh the page. Nothing is happening. I'm just going to click the button. Now we can see the loader, and after 2 seconds, it's gone. So this is used in many websites, maybe not for loaders, because loaders are just going to be hidden when something finishes loading. But I don't know if you've noticed on websites, sometimes there's an error message or some message saying that the changes have been saved. So you just see something coming from above with a message, and then after a few seconds, it just gets hidden. So it is done by using the set timeout. So now let's see the other method I mentioned, which is the set interval. So this time it is going to be similar to the set timeout, but the difference is that it is going to keep repeating that function forever unless we stop it. So let's see how this works. Let's go to Visual Studio Code. So before starting it, I'm just going to create a variable called count, which is going to be 0. And I'm going to write window.set. So this time it's set interval. And the same thing again. First, you open and close parentheses and add the semicolon. Inside here, we need a function and the time. So function, open and close parentheses. Now the time. So I'm just going to keep increasing the number. So this is just going to work like a clock or just a counter that's going to be getting increased by itself. So for this, I'm going to use 1 second interval. So every second, what I'm going to do is sending the number I have to the console and then incrementing 1. So if I do this, and refresh the page. Let's go to the console. As you can see, we have this thing that's just like seconds in a clock, and this is going to be running forever until we stop it. So now how do we stop this? If you go down here, you will see that we can interrupt time methods by using variables. So going back to Visual Studio Code, when we create the setInterval method, instead of just doing it like this, we can assign it to a variable. So I'm going to name this variable, I don't know, time interval. And I'm just going to do like this. So this is going to be executed anyway, but this time this is going to be assigned to this variable. And this is going to be important when we want to interrupt it. So what we are going to do after doing the same thing we've just done, we are going to start an if statement here because we just want to run this up to 5. So if the count is greater than or equal to 5, we just want to interrupt this set interval. So how do we do this? We use another method called clear interval. As you can see, we have clear interval and clear timeout. So for this case, we just want to clear the interval. And inside parentheses, we just need to pass the name of this variable. So by doing this, now going back there, refreshing the page, as you can see, we weren't on the page and this just kept running. This is just going to run forever. Now, if we refresh the page, it is happening again. So let's wait until it reaches 5. It didn't reach 5. It stopped at 4. So as you can see, we just interrupted the setInterval method. And the same thing can be done with the setTimeout by using the clear timeout. So pretty cool. That was all I wanted to show you about setTimeout and setInterval for now. But before we finish with this, I just left you another challenge. So I want you to use the date object and the setInterval method to make the watch below work in real time. So I have a watch here. So here it's a space for the hours. Let's see the IDs of this. So here we have an element for the hours, an element for the minutes, an element for the seconds. So now you know how to get the actual time, the current time with the date object. And you know how to repeat a block of code using the setInterval. So I want you to get these two things we learned in this lesson and in the previous one and put this clock to work. So again, take your time, try to think how can you do this, and in the next video I'm going to be back here to solve this. So good luck and I'll see you in the next video.